Greetings, I'm Superintendent of Public Instruction Chris Reykdal, coming to you from the old Capitol building in Olympia, Washington, where we share important relationships with the original stewards of the land. This building sits on the Squaxin Island tribe. Thank you for being once again part of our innovation series. We're very excited to talk about three things today that I think are most exciting to parents, and I think community will understand the importance of our early learning focus here today and getting kids to a strong start. I do want to open and recognize the tragedy that occurred earlier this week in one of our schools. 5 years ago in 2 months was the only other time we've lost a student to a shooting while I've been superintendent, and that day sort of haunts me ever since. And every single day we think about, how do we avoid this? How do we avoid this? And sadly, this week we did not. We've lost the life of one of our children and one of our classmates. And a family is grieving, and another family will never be the same as a result of this. So to the entire Seattle public school community, to all families who worry about this daily, I share that as a parent of a child in school to this day. I'll also just remind folks how hard this state has worked. We've added additional safety staff. We've got great protocols for training around safety. Our districts all adopt safety plans and update them regularly. We've put in place regional threat assessment networks. We literally try to identify students in crisis and intervene as early as we can to support them. Most of the success we have had in this state is because young people identify in their peers' risk. And I want to say thank you to our students and our parents, our guardians, our families around the state, our teachers, our counselors, our nurses, everyone. When you see something, please say something. It is helping to keep our state safe. Unfortunately, this week, we know that system can always use additional support. And I ask the legislature once more, continue to invest in the mental health and support of our students, in the safety of our students, both physical spaces and in our deployment of resources. And remind everyone that our legislature in this state has worked very, very hard on a bipartisan way to create the safety framework we have today. Again, to the Seattle community, we are with you. We weep with you, and we will continue to work very, very hard to wrap the best safety system we can around our students and our staff. Let's talk about strong starts, strong foundations to learning. I have three amazing guests today. You're going to hear from Senator Claire Wilson from the 30th Legislative District, that's the Federal Way area, and more. Dr. Wade Smith, the superintendent of Walla Walla Public Schools, and Brooke Fisher-Clark, executive director of the Imagination Library. Those of you who have not become familiar with the Imagination Library, you will today. You will be inspired, and you will want to be a part of this because it's pretty amazing. I'm going to talk a little bit about each of the three things we're unveiling today, and then turn to these great speakers so that you can get a sense of their commitment and passion and the role that they'll play in seeing these into fruition. Let's talk about a little background on early literacy. We know that foundational skills for young people as they come to us as kindergarten students is essential. Exposure to books and literacy and numeracy and all the building blocks we do as parents and grandparents and guardians, all of that builds success for young people. But we know that not every child gets an equal opportunity at those things before they start with us. Roughly 20 to 25% of Washington students enter kindergarten needing additional supports in literacy. That's a big number. We obviously get 70, 80% of those students to important standards by the end, and we graduate 85 plus or more of our students. So we make great progress, but the work involved and the challenges for our young people when they come not quite prepared for kindergarten is significant, and we can do something about that. We know that families with lower incomes and significant financial distress have a disproportionate impact on their readiness for kindergarten. And again, some of what we'll talk about today will directly have positive impact on our ability to support those students. Little less than half of our students come to us prepared if they are low income students or designated as free and reduced price lunch. And about 2/3 of families, though, who are not identified as free and reduced price lunch are kindergarten ready based on our assessment, which still means 1/3 of those families could use additional support as well. We can do a lot about this, and we intend to, and I want to just share with you a little bit about the Imagination Library. The Imagination Library started in 1995 by Dolly Parton, and it is operated by the Dollywood Foundation. When families participate in the program, children are mailed a book each month from birth to age 5 at no cost to the family. This isn't like two family or two resident. It literally has the name of the child. So every single month they get a book sent to them and they connect with it and they know another one's coming in 30 days. And it's incredibly exciting for those families. When there are multiple students in the household, multiple books are sent. They are age appropriate. They are aimed at the reading that is consistent with what a newborn would hear from a parent or a guardian reading, or a 5-year-old who's already maybe reading on their own. So it's pretty powerful in that regard. Books are selected by a diverse group of folks who are professionals in this early learning space, as well as authors. The books are very, very diverse. There are tips for parents and guardians, so it's more than a book, but there are things in those books geared at the reader, the parent, the guardian, the older sibling, the whoever it is, to kind of ask questions of inquiry and challenge students. So it is truly embracing this idea that parents and guardians and grandparents and family are the first and most powerful teachers of their children. This year in California, there's a pilot starting up for bilingual books that should be rolled out to the nation by next year. And as you all well know, that is consistent with a powerful passion we have at OSPI to make sure that every student has a chance at being a bilingual learner if they're a Washington State student. And we unveiled that recently. So this initiative dovetails beautifully with our bilingual initiative. The Imagination Library is research and evidence-based. We know that it leads to improvement in kindergarten readiness, better K-12 performance, increases graduation rates, as well as better health and economic outcomes. The way it operates today is it's really a matching program. Today, what we've initiated over the last year or more is locals raise money using federal dollars that OSPI had available through the emergency relief funds that we've got. We're able to match that. So today we have a great matching program. The legislature has passed this as an official statewide program. Our hope is that the legislature will take this request of ours and turn it into a resource that is made permanent so that we can promise every newborn in the state of Washington for the duration of our history will get books sent to them personally every month until they are age 5 and ready for kindergarten. This is very, very exciting for us, and we're very, very pleased to have Brooke here, who you will hear from later. It does matter that the legislature provides this match, though it is not a requirement of the program federally. It does mean that it lowers that cost for the local communities to raise dollars, and it just creates a huge incentive for them to get going. Of our 39 counties, 29 have full coverage to this day. 8 of them are partially covered and 2 do not have coverage, but that is quickly being addressed. The Imagination Library of Washington team is working on those 10 counties who are partial or full. 39,000 students are already receiving books every month in our state. That's 10% of all of our early learners. And at $2.10 a book, so $1.05 raised locally and $1.05 matched at the state level, we are getting an 80, 90, sometimes more percentage discount on these. This sort of purchase and scale makes this possible. So again, we just really encourage the legislature to be a part of this. The total request is about $2.5 million a year. So it is so unbelievably affordable from a state budget standpoint. And I've never seen anything with such scale in my 25 years in public education. It is just genuinely the greatest opportunity this state has ever had to bring tools of literacy that engages families and gets them ready for their public school experience. And we could not be more thrilled. I will remind you, this is for all students. This is not limited by income. There are no filters on the process for readiness. This is sign up, receive a book, begin that powerful gift of learning and reading and literacy. Again, we'll turn to Brooke here very, very shortly on that. Next, I want to talk a little bit about school supply costs for students and families. Since I got to OSPI, it has been a constant effort in partnership with our legislature, again, in remarkable ways, with folks all around the state, thinking about how to invest in our public schools. We have added significant resources to ensure that our state is funding basic education. We're not quite there totally, but we're awfully close. And we've unveiled a lot of that along the way in this innovation series, as well as our budget request. But one thing that continues to persist is the idea that in many communities across the state, we ask families before their child even comes to school to provide basic supplies that should be basic education. So that's what we intend to do. In September, we shared our plan for school meals. Last month, we shared our plan for dual credit. Again, the whole effort here is where can we now take the next step to take costs directly away from families to create the most equitable opportunity to be a part of our education system. Our notion here is to remove all of the costs to those traditional consumable school supplies that in some places are asked of families to bring themselves. We want that to be a part of going to school in basic ed. This will save families hundreds of dollars, and it will clearly make an expectation of young people that everyone is welcome at our doors and there isn't a barrier the moment they arrive for the basic things they need: paper, pencils, pens, and other things to be a successful student in our system. Our request again is we've already put this in our budget request. We add money to what's called MSOC, the famous maintenance, supply, and operating costs. School districts will use that to purchase in bulk and make some local decisions. We know that not every teacher needs something similar. Not every classroom is the same. Elementary sometimes need more consumables than high school, but we certainly have middle and high school programs that will need a little bit more as well. That is decided locally. This request is for the legislature to make it permanent. And our commitment is that we will write rules once funded to ensure that schools cannot ask families to provide those basic school supplies, truly shifting the cost from families to the state as a form of basic education. It's about $30 million a year. Again, you can see more detail in our budget requests, and certainly want to answer any questions about that after, if folks have any. Now, transition kindergarten, the third of our announcements here for these incredible starts for young people. Transition kindergarten, or TK as many folks know it, is a program provided by school districts to 4-year-olds entering kindergarten within the next year who need additional preparation for a successful school start. This has been in statute for quite a long time. It's sort of barely gotten off the ground in the last several years, but is beginning to build some momentum as districts think about a multi-delivery, multi-channel system of early learning. We have incredible ECAP and Head Start partners out there. We've got great providers of private pay systems, in-home care systems. There is a big donut hole of young people who come to kindergarten not prepared because they did not get a high quality early learning experience. This transition kindergarten program attempts to complement all of those other delivery systems by identifying students who would most benefit. It's kind of a jump start. The K-12 system receives them, ensures that it doesn't create disproportionate impacts on local providers, and then clearly tries to take these students and say, let's grab a hold of you and give you some learning before your traditional start to kindergarten. And that way we don't start with as many students in academic, behavioral, or emotional deficit. These are comprehensive kindergarten supports delivered to those who aren't quite age eligible, but would absolutely benefit from it. There's a screening process involved to make sure that students would in fact benefit and they don't have other alternatives in the community. The program does align to current state law, and it is a traditional kindergarten experience, although it's a bit of a jump start. It's an early start. TK classrooms must be staffed by certificated teachers and staff, maintain developmentally appropriate learning environments, demonstrate strong connections with other early learning providers, and grow student skills in reading, writing, communication, math, as well as their social and emotional skills. TK programs emerged in our state again about 5 years ago, and they've been building, relatively slow. It's in 93 school districts today, serving about 3,100 students. So it's not a lot of students today, but the need is significant. Additionally, in the 2021 school year, students who participate in TK demonstrated higher levels of preparedness for kindergarten than their peers who did not participate in TK. Great investments in the Whatcom County area, Bellingham School District in particular, Walla Walla, where you'll hear from superintendent there today, as well as districts across the state. The evidence is becoming very, very powerful that this jumpstart is an enormous opportunity and a great investment. 80% of Washington's preschool age children don't have access to state funded preschool, and TK is an important option available to children who qualify. Our next steps is to ask the legislature to invest a little bit more in this thing. It is provided for with basic ed, but we certainly want them to have a policy framework consistent with what we're doing. We have to create some uniformity around this program. So OSPI will initiate rules, which we will not finalize until after the legislative session. In case the legislature wants to come in, have their own set of expectations, we want to work with them to make sure their vision for this matches ours. But we will initiate the rulemaking process. It will define the purpose of transition kindergarten. It'll set more specific age and eligibility requirements for students. It'll clarify the additional data and reporting requirements of school districts for TK programs so that they more closely mirror existing K-12 systems. Finally, our rules will require school districts to operate TK to align their program with our quality standards. Programs must meet requirements of full-day kindergarten established by the legislature, have certificated classroom educators and trained paraeducators. Programs must include socioeconomically diverse and be responsive to the needs of students who qualify. Fully integrated into the school. So anything that's available to students in that particular elementary school should be available to our TK students. And the programs by rule will be required to collaborate with local providers to ensure that it is filling gaps and not replacing services already available in the community. Again, I want to thank you all for being a part of this. We've got some people who are pretty passionate about this as we are. I first turned to Senator Claire Wilson, again from the legislative district. Senator Wilson, among many other things, is vice chair of the Education Committee in the Senate, is a passionate leader in early education with a long background in this work prior to her legislative work, and we cannot thank her enough for her support. Senator Wilson, a few remarks, please, on your passion and what you're going to do in this space.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Reykdal, for asking me to participate today in this press conference. And I want to thank you all for your also for your continued work on behalf of all students across Washington State. I am proud to support the measures you just chatted about that increase access to critical educational services for our state's youngest learners, whether it's providing more learning tools to students in their classrooms or providing access to additional resources outside the classroom. It's more important than ever, I think, to support students all across the state. And we've taken great strides in the legislature to increase resources for students. And with those that you've chatted about today, even more students, I think, will have the tools they need in order to succeed. Resources like the Washington Imagination Library will ensure students across the state are provided with an opportunity to engage in reading outside the classroom, which also provides students with a window to the world through books, which is so important. And enhancing the state's transitional kindergarten program creates just additional opportunities for our youngest learners to succeed at the very beginning of their educational journey, which is going to set them up for success long term. But we also know that there are many children who still go unserved, as you said, across our state. So additional options like TK for families in our communities and our school districts is a critical piece of that mixed delivery system. I am incredibly thrilled, I'll tell you, about investing in school supplies also for students across the state, making sure that every student has access to the tools they need during their K-12 experience. Kids need to be able to show up in the classroom ready to learn, and parents and families should not have to worry about the long list of classroom supplies that were needed before school started. Things that you said, pencils, papers, Kleenex, Ziploc bags, erasers, crayons, papers. I could go on. So now more than ever, I think our families need the support and our students deserve it. So with all of the steps you talked about and more, it's more important than ever that we continue to invest in our state's youngest learners, that we do all we can to set them up for success, both in education and in life. And you and I both know that the return on investment is worth it. So I look forward to continuing my work with OSPI, with educators across the state, with scholars and with families to make sure that this next legislative session, we continue to work towards decreasing barriers to education and also work on increasing supports for reaching all of the scholars that we're serving across the state. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and let's get going.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Senator Wilson. She has spent her life, her career's work developing, supporting, and really being behind families and young moms with children in school. She's just a great champion. We can't thank you enough for this. We do look forward to that partnership, and there's a lot of work here. So thank you for stepping up and really wanting to be a part of this. Next, we turn to Dr. Wade Smith. He's Superintendent of Walla Walla Public Schools. I've had an opportunity to visit some of their facilities and to see the power of transition kindergarten as it complements ECAP and Head Start and private providers. When communities need additional solutions, Walla Walla Schools stepped up under Dr. Smith's leadership, and he's here to talk a little bit about that work and how we can bring it statewide. Dr. Smith, your time.
Well, thank you so much, Superintendent Reykdal. And obviously, I echo your comments and prayers from Walla Walla to our entire Seattle community for their loss and difficult time they're going through. A little bit about Walla Walla. We're located in Southeast Washington. We serve just under 6,000 students. About 2 in 3 qualify for free and reduced lunch, and just under half are ethnically diverse, and about 1 in 6 are either multi-language learners, and about the same percentage are students who qualify with disabilities. You know, for over 10 years, the Walla Walla community has been working with multiple organizations to address some alarming statistics and the lack of access we are seeing across our community. In fact, in 2019, a comprehensive study found that 2 out of every 3 4-year-olds across our valley lack access to any formal early learning or preschool experience. We are the epitome of that donut hole, Superintendent Reykdal, you were just prior talking about. You know, we have about 500 4-year-olds across our valley, and about 100 to 150 of our most at-risk children are being so well served by the incredible Head Start and ECAP programs. At the other end of the spectrum, probably similar to many communities, about 100 to 150 students are being served by the incredible private parochial preschool programs that are available in our community. But as Superintendent Reykdal mentioned, that left a huge void in the middle. About 200 of our Valley students didn't qualify for Head Start or ECAP, or don't have access to one of the high quality but very limited preschool available options here in our community. You know, at that time, back in 2019, when that study was performed, less than 1 in 4 students, half of the state's average, were coming to kindergarten prepared to learn. And as we know, when students enter kindergarten, despite the incredible efforts we do, we struggle as a system statewide to catch them up. And as we know, every dollar we spend in preschool education pays for itself 7-fold in lacking the need to remediate students and support and catch them up further down the road, which research shows we are not well equipped to do and have not been real successful. So as a result of this donut hole effect, community-wide support and massive studying that's gone into this process, our board unanimously chose to repurpose an entire 70,000 square foot elementary school into a wall-to-wall early learning center, as Superintendent Reykdal mentioned. And in this one-stop shop, we have about 150 of our students being served by our district-run Head Start program and the great partnership with our ESD, who also runs the ECAP program in this center. And again, the other 150 or so students are being adequately and prepared by these amazing private and parochial partners we also have. But this also allowed us the opportunity to implement 2 years ago a transitional kindergarten program where nearly 75 students are being served. 75 of those 200 students in the middle that were caught left empty with access and opportunity. Now, just 2 years after implementation, the number of students coming to kindergarten prepared based on WaKids data has doubled in Walla Walla. In 2 years' time, we have doubled the number of students coming to kindergarten prepared. That same assessment and results are also indicated where our students were coming underperforming the state and national average in kindergarten based on our district's diagnostic tests. This year, we are actually outperforming, in many cases, state and national data, and it is because of this program. And as we look at, again, the data, it's also important to think about the families and the kids being served. And this comes to memory, the single mother, her name was Jen. She moved to our community, had a 4-year-old named Jax, who was not being adequately supported and prepared, and his needs being met in one of the private programs because of some behavioral challenges he had. Because we had the TK program, our local private preschool provider referred Jax to our program so he could be served. And to this day, he's having amazing success in one of our elementary school programs. Now as a 2nd grader, it's just incredible to see this opportunity that's now available for students who did not qualify or have access to our early learning centers. And what makes Walla Walla unique is as we have this early learning hub where we have Head Start, ECAP, TK, community partners all being provided, we really wrap our arms around our students. When they come through our front door, our goal is to get them served. Maybe it's going to be in one of our high quality parochial or private preschool centers. We send them that way. They refer students to us that they feel we can better serve. Maybe it's Head Start, maybe it's ECAP, but what we try to do and what we have accomplished here in Walla Walla is that vision that Superintendent Reykdal has set across for our state. Wall-to-wall access, regardless of what program we're to get into, working together as a community, collaborating around resources. Again, we share a curriculum. Head Start, ECAP, TK, we all implement teaching strategy as gold. You know, we have partnered every single month. We meet with our private and parochial providers to make sure that we are adequately serving and supporting each other, to make sure that we are, again, referring students to their programs and their programs to our programs. And we have really, again, modeled that rigorous staffing program that Superintendent Reykdal is recommending in his legislative priorities to make sure that we are adequately staffing TK programs. You know, we actually model the Head Start program with a full-time certificated teacher, a full-time associate teacher for every 18 students. We provide transportation. We take these transitional kindergarten students on field trips unlike they've ever been able to experience before. They have access to a high-quality certificated PE teacher for their instruction every single day. And so really what we have been able to accomplish here, thanks to Superintendent Reykdal's leadership and the opportunity to provide this, is to be able to deliver on that dream of early learning for all children. And I'm just so excited about the opportunity. I'm so excited about this conversation that our superintendent is elevating across the state, because what we've been able to do in Walla Walla should be replicated across every community in our state to maintain universal access for every student. And I can guarantee you, if we can have every student coming to kindergarten prepared, that's going to guarantee their future, guarantee our success as a system, and ultimately save the state resources and dollars down the road, not having to remediate students year after year after year, trying to catch them up when they came underprepared or unprepared because of lack of access. And so again, thank you, Superintendent Reykdal, for your leadership. Again, appreciate all you're doing for our state and our students. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with the Seattle School District at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Walla Walla is an amazing community. Your leadership is so evident, and I love to hear about those partnerships, public sector, private sector, so many different funding sources and consistent expectations for all kids. We've got a great partner in DCY at the Division of Children, Youth, and Families who oversees our early learning system. And this is a great time to just shout out to them. The framework they have built in the state for high expectations, they're doing that through most of the private sector partners, but as well as some of the public sector. Our school districts are significant providers of ECAP and Head Start. This is a nice complement to that, and just cannot thank you and your peers across the state enough. We finally turn to Brooke Fisher, Executive Director of the Imagination Library of Washington. You've heard about this remarkable program. We can put learning tools in the hands of every guardian, parent, every child. We can make it personalized. We can really build instruction before they ever step into one of our elementary schools. And we can give these students the greatest start of any state in the United States of America. Brooke, tell us how we're going to take this through the finish line.
Well, good afternoon. I am Brooke Fisher-Clark, and I am the Executive Director of the Imagination Library of Washington. I work for United Ways of the Pacific Northwest in partnership with the Dollywood Foundation. And I have to say, this is my absolute dream role, and I feel so blessed and privileged to wake up every single day going to work for our children in the state, providing them this amazing, magical, transformative opportunity. I would like to start first with gratitude. So Superintendent Reykdal and OSPI team, I can't thank you enough for your amazing support and belief in this program, and for the early expansion funds that you provided to start this journey for Washington children. And to Dolly Parton, the creator and guru of this amazing program, shout out to you. To Nora Briggs, the Executive Director of the Dollywood Foundation, Pam Hunsacker, the Regional Director, and the entire Dollywood Foundation team. Also a shout out to the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, who has been a great leader in support of this program, and to all of our Washington lawmakers who made my dream come true in making Washington State the very first statewide program on the West Coast. And lastly, to my dear United Ways of the Pacific Northwest group. I would also like to illuminate and highlight the amazing heroes in our state called program partners, of which we have 35 from corner to corner across the state, from the east in Spokane County of Spokane County United Way, all the way to the West Coast in King County with Africa Town Community Land Trust, and in between, we have 35 amazing program partners ranging from foundations, United Ways, service clubs, child development associations, land trusts, school districts, tribes, and others that have really stepped up to be wonderful champions to the children in their community and have signed memorandums of agreement with the Dollywood Foundation to provide this for the children in their region. We are right now nearly at 50% program availability for all Washington early learners. And so I want to take this opportunity to convey to families that you can search program availability and register your children now through the website imaginationlibrarywashington.org. So those children can start receiving books right now in large parts of our entire state. I'd like to say right now that we are in the fourth quarter of the football game with expansion. We have 10 counties left. We are almost to the finish line, and we have lots of irons in the fire of trying to close those coverage gaps in those regions to get children this opportunity as quickly as possible, as we do have a wait list in a lot of regions of families that are just yearning for this experience with their children. And we are so excited to welcome Dolly Parton for our statewide celebration when that statewide completion happens. We have been really busy at work as well in our team doing fundraising and outreach for the Imagination Library. And we've made some really strong and rich connections with entities like the Washington State Library, the Department of Health, Alliance Cares, which is a great group that supports Washington foster families and kinship, Home Visiting Advocacy Coalition, hospitals, state early learning coalitions, Washington 211, and so many others that have really brought great ideas, connections, and supports in helping us also to promote the program statewide and also reach all of our Washington early learner populations, specifically even our high poverty, vulnerable populated areas. In regards to impacts, we have recently received some data from surveys conducted with local affiliates and their families that participate to see the value and the impacts of what this program is bringing to households and to children, and what skills are they bringing, and what's their interest level in reading. And we were really delighted to discover that 91% of respondents saw positive changes in their children in terms of early literacy skills, social and listening development, increased interest reading, and so many other areas. And it was just really heartfelt in reading a lot of the parent testimonials and comments from families that are single parents and are low income, and thanking the program and the lawmakers for bringing this program because they just can't afford books. To geographically challenged families that just don't live close to town or to a library or to sources that service books, to families that are foster families, where this is perhaps the bridge that connects those families and provides that bond. We are very, very proud to be a part of the #1 early literacy program in the nation. We just found out from the Dollywood Foundation that this program currently encompasses and enrolls 10% of our entire national early learning population. That is a pretty incredible statistic. Lastly, a continued investment would absolutely reinforce program partner stability and their ability to grow throughout the state and reach more families and children. It would strongly support individual, community, and state transformation to a high level. And I just have to say thank you to all of you who have brought this program to life for Washington children. It is near and dear to my heart. I believe in it with every part of my being. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I yield the floor back to you, Superintendent Reykdal.
Great. Thank you so much, Brooke. And again, to everyone who's been a part of this has moved very, very rapidly. At OSPI, when we had a chance to understand the impact of this, the scale of it, the affordability of this, and think about what is that way we can really engage families and support them in literacy so they don't feel like that's something they wait for until their child is in formal education. This just absolutely hit home. So again, thank you, Brooke, to the entire team, to the whole Dollywood Foundation. We are one of the fastest growing states in the country, I understand. And I know Brooke will close the gap here and get our last 10 partial counties or those not yet served. And it is available to everyone. imaginationlibrarywashington.org. Check it out and look forward to us absolutely bringing this home. We're going to be a state that can promise every child when you are born, mom, dad, caregiver, there's going to be books arriving, and you're going to connect with your child well before they can read, and it's going to make a huge difference. Totally, totally awesome. Again, thanks everyone for being a part of this. Child gets books from the time they are born, and that literacy is happening early. They get prepared for school. and realize that they need a little extra support, we want to be there. They show up with that giant backpack that often looks as big as they are as 5-year-olds, and mom and dad and guardian and grandparent and family doesn't have to worry about the $200 or $300 in supplies to get them to that first day. This is the Washington that we are becoming. Accessible, genuinely focused on equitable opportunities, closing gaps, and doing it in a way that is just such a partnership between the public and private sector. Thanks for being a part of this. You can check out all of our innovation series here at OSPI. We are absolutely thrilled that we get a chance to lead for the future. This entire effort has been about who we want to be in 5, 10, and 20 years, to shed the things that have not worked, invest in the things that do work, and create things that are not even in place yet, but we know from the research makes a difference. Thanks for being a part of this. We will see you next time. Oh, we have questions.
Sorry. Rebecca White with Spokane Public Radio has a question for you.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is about the transition into kindergarten program. Is that more about, I just wanted to clarify, I guess, who exactly it would serve? Is it just children that don't qualify or can't afford private preschool? And is it for kids that don't qualify, or maybe kids that can't be served like behaviorally or disability wise by some of those programs?
Yeah, thank you for that great question. What we're going to clarify in our rules, there's already an existing statute that directs OSPI to create this opportunity. We're going to clarify that through some rulemaking that says it really does need to be a screening process. So all of the things you've identified are eligible kinds of criteria. Don't have access to something locally. Perhaps it's an affordability issue. It could be that there is a unique learning need that hasn't been provided elsewhere, or the student hasn't had access at all, or local facilities are full. There's just no space for them, or the geographic distance to get to something is too great. All of those become criteria. It is not a sort of open invitation and everyone show up. It really does have to be a screening process to make sure we've exhausted other options, and then accept students into TK when that becomes the best choice for that family.
Doesn't look like we have any other questions.
Great. Again, thank you for this innovation series. As we sort of wrap this up, what you don't see is an incredible team here, our communications team, leaders in this agency who make this happen, and a ton of program and policy experts, fiscal experts, researchers, data leaders who are constantly bringing us to the brink of innovation. And then we talk to lots of partners about this. And as we've said before, not everyone agrees with these things, but we do want to constantly push the envelope of where Washington's going, so that every family says, that is a school system that I am proud to be a part of. Thank you, educators. And once more to the Seattle family and to all of our families and students in this state impacted by gun violence and the risk of it. Our prayers are with you, and more importantly, our resources and our programming continues to support students and families and educators so our schools can be the safest in the country. Thank you.